Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
welcome to the Movie Wire.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. It's Disaster Week here on the Movie Wire. This week, we have 3 disaster movies to review, with 2 playing in theaters and 1 that will be a Movie Wire catch-up. Are all 3 disaster movies disasters? Let's find out. This week on the show, 5 years ago, the world ended. That was just the beginning. In the sequel to the 2020 film comes Greenland 2. Volunteers are needed. Daisy Ridley stars in Zak Hilditch's We Bury the Dead. And finally, now available to rent or buy and is part of the Movie Wire catch-up, Hope is the Only Thing They Have, based on a true story, comes Not Without Hope. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, what? A roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire podcast.
There it is.
You need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
The surviving Garrity family must leave the safety of the Greenland bunker and embark on a perilous journey across the decimated frozen wasteland of Europe to find a new home. In the sequel to the 2020 film comes Greenland 2.
Space agencies tracking the fragment are predicting an extinction level event. The greatest chance of survival are the bunkers in Greenland.
Go, go, go!
Listen, Lisa, it doesn't matter what happens. Because we're always going to be together.
Everybody says that this is the new normal.
For those we've lost.
So we're going on 5 years now, so it isn't all that new. It definitely ain't normal.
I hate this place. All right, come here.
Listen, bud, I know it's tough being stuck down here.
It's too dangerous outside.
Be advised, we've got a radiation storm north of your location.
Open the door! Get it open!
Our situation is getting worse. Do we think there's anywhere that's safe from all of this?
We believe the crater walls prevent the radioactive storms from forming, making it a safe zone.
There could be breathable air, drinkable water.
It's in southern France. How exactly are we going to get there?
We can't stay here, honey. We didn't come all this way for this. I want a new beginning for our family.
Okay, the Clark crater is our best bet.
How many fragments do you think are up there?
More than I can count. It's crazy to think something so beautiful can be so deadly.
Where are we?
Everyone looks so lost.
We gotta go! Let's go!
The world is a dangerous place now.
Well, what is that? Storm?
That's not a storm.
Jump onto something!
Half of his life has been surviving. We have to get to the crater. Don't look down.
Hang on!
We're gonna keep going.
I'll take care of you both till my last breath.
Now, I vaguely remember Greenland all the way back from 2020, and reading the synopsis of Greenland 2, I tried so hard to remember it. It felt like a fever dream of watching the original. I know I did watch it, but I remembered absolutely nothing about it. So before going into Greenland 2, I decided to do a rewatch. And as I was watching it, for a disaster movie about meteors smashing down on Earth, there is very little that reminded me of watching it before, which goes to show how impactful that movie was. Now, the original Greenland was scheduled for a theatrical release in 2020, but again, like so many other movies, was pushed to on demand due to theaters being shut down. Again, which shows how impactful this movie was, since I was watching everything I could when it comes to new movies on streaming during the pandemic. Now, the original 2020 Greenland surrounded a family, John and Allison Garrity, played by Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin, and their diabetic son, Nathan, played by Roger Dale Floyd, who are picked to go underground while the rest of the planet faces ultimate Armageddon when multiple meteors are slated to crash down on the planet. Disaster films like this, good or bad, usually will stay with you when it comes to the emotional level or just pure entertainment level, because disaster movies like a meteor ending life just kind of stays with you because it is a fear, it is a curiosity. But as I was watching, nothing jogged my memory that I have seen the original before. That is until one scene where we had the Garrity son Nathan get kidnapped by another family in hopes to use his wristband to get them into the underground sanctuary. The emotional stress, the stress of losing a son, and the world's end jogged my memory to say, now I remember this movie. It came back to me, but it still felt like I didn't have anything to care about. Greenland 2 suffers from the same effect as the first one, that both movies hint at a better movie within a movie, where we see an idea that the movie presents as just a mere scene, but should have been the main idea to drive the film. But instead, they both go through mere situation after situation, and going from one environment to another, even more so in the second movie. Instead of focusing on the emotion and family through a main conflict, both movies just add more conflict with every setting change. Greenland 2 takes place 5 years after the events of the first film, where 75% of the world has been eliminated, and the Gradys exit the bunker to a whole new world of destruction and a new threat. The film moves through more settings and cities faster than a short plane ride, and of course, with every setting change, our Garrity family is faced with conflict. And again, we have a scene, well, 2 scenes, well, actually, maybe 3 scenes, that could have been the pivotal idea of the movie. One of the most memorable scenes in Greenland 2 is where we have our Garrity family move through London, where they visit a rest home where some of the residents suffer from Alzheimer's. And this is a memorable scene because we start asking ourselves questions of curiosity, like, how did they survive all this time? It's been 5 years since the events. What happened to these characters in between? What took place outside of the bunker during this time? It seems like there are a lot more interesting things happening outside of the bunker than what our writer Mitchell LaFortune from last year's Last Breath does with this concept. And he focuses on the family, but there's nothing interesting about this family except they're stuck in a bunker and they're realizing this whole world for the first time in 5 years, but they don't do anything interesting with it. We get conflict through situations and we get hints of something deeper. And LaFortune doesn't feel the need to slow down and allow us to get to know these characters on a deeper level. And that goes for our family and all the added characters. It's slow but hyper speed to get through as many characters and as many situations as we possibly can. This is the most frustrating thing that the film amplifies from the first film to actually become memorable. It teases something greater and then just pulls it away from the viewer in a repetitive cliche after cliche. Even without giving anything away, a beautiful visual of almost a utopia, and I'm shouting, show me more, and it never comes. Our director Rick Roman-Waugh returns from the first movie and does deliver some impressive shots, even in cliche action, but he merely follows the material as a tour guide for our characters from one city to another, from one situation to another, from one conflict to another. And he does what he can with the written material, but after 5-6 years of doing a sequel from a mediocre movie that many won't remember, that may have done well on streaming, but I'm sure it had many factors to make it successful, that everybody was at home watching it. But I don't know the numbers. Filmmakers got overly confident in saying, let's push this one to theaters because the first one was watched by so many. But in reality, should have ended up in the same boat as the original. And maybe that would have met it with the same success. But Greenland 2 lacks the stakes that the first one mildly banked on. A crescendoing disaster and a ticking of a clock to get to safety. That at least had something to hook a viewer. that will eventually forget about it. This is where the writing should have learned in the last few years to have been smart to realize to slow the fuck down and get a bigger depth to our characters that we have had numerous opportunities to have in this film. Our characters are moving from scene to scene, environment to environment, city to city, to the point I was waiting for the Indiana Jones map with a plane and a red line to appear in a cutscene. Greenland 2 is as memorable as the first one, if not a little bit less forgettable. Even to the point I don't even consider this a spectacle disaster movie, as the first one at least kind of hinted at it. Instead, just like the first film, we get teases of something that could have been, teases of something better, or at least target entertainment or emotion. We can see the first one target entertainment, but the execution of the stakes were not there. And here the attempt at emotion, but it never goes deep enough. So what does that mean? So by the time the third one comes out, if one comes out in the next 5 to 6 years, looks like I will be doing a double feature from something that time forgot. I'm giving Greenland 2 1.5 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
So, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Brendan Fraser plays a washed-up actor who is hired to play a father to a little girl. And one of the best movies of the year is Rental Family. That is true cinematic soul food, receiving 4 stars. Inspired by a legend, bound by a dream. Our filmmakers may have had a dream, but it definitely didn't inspire in Song Sung Blue, that received 2 stars. First Hunt, Last Chance in Predator Badlands, which was a fun addition to the lore without showing us all the cards. Quite Yet, receiving 3 stars. But for the love of God, please no more PG-13 Predator movies. An epic World War II thriller based on true events in Nuremberg, with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek stealing the show to receive 3 stars. Anyone can survive 5 nights. This time there will be no second chances. And hopefully this doesn't get a third chance in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that received 1.5 stars. You can only choose one in eternity. That is a true journey of self-reflection and takes the viewer on the journey with it, receiving 3.5 stars. Unlock the illusion that we really needed a sequel to this, and Now You See Me, Now You Don't, that received 2 stars. Survive 30 days while the world hunts you down in the remake of the 1987 film, The Running Man, that really didn't make me run away, receiving 3 stars. And I still hate Glenn Powell. When they took his family, he took revenge. In Sisu, Road to Revenge, that is just as good as the first, if not a little better, receiving 3.5 stars. Worlds will collide when there's no going back in Tron Ares, that had enough entertainment value versus disappointment to receive 3 stars. Forgotten but not gone in the tragic true story of Broadway legend Lawrence Hart, that will fill a Broadway third with a fantastic performance from Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, that received 3.5 stars. Risk everything, regret nothing, and regretting you, that will make you full of regret spending the time and or the money, and studios will probably have regret of hiring the editor, writer, and director here, receiving 2 stars. There's smarter life out there in the universe, including our filmmakers that created Malgonia, that received 3 stars. Some search for battles, others are born into it in one battle after another, which is a prime example of all filmmaking elements working together in unison to receive 4 stars. You'd be so proud of her in Shelby Oaks, but not proud of the filmmaking here that really need to figure its shit out to receive 2 stars. Need a miracle? You got it with Keanu Reeves, plays an angel, and he is adorable in A Good Fortune, that received 3 stars. He robbed 45 McDonald's, escaped from prison, lived in a Toys R Us for 6 months, and that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is that we can tell that Channing Tatum wasn't a Toys R Us kid in Roofman, that received 1.5 stars. That is just a word. We told you not to talk to strangers in The Black Bone 2, that for an unnecessary sequel, this one actually got it right, receiving 3 stars. The unforgettable true story of UFC legend Dwayne Johnson stars in The Smashing Machine, which couldn't find its way to 3 stars, just receiving 2.5 stars. Who's a good movie? Who's a good movie? It's Good Boy, which had a good dog, good premise, good filmmaking to receive 3 stars. And finally, the task is simple. Walk or die in the Stephen King adaptation of The Long Walk. That was pretty thrilling for a movie about walking to receive 3 stars. You can check out those reviews of my previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that I absolutely love, and it's with my favorite Wilson family, and that's the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. Make sure you follow and subscribe. The link to that show will be in the description of this episode. But let's hear from the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast now.
The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. You know that family whose house you hung out in when you were a kid? The house was a little loud and chaotic, but always fun, and sometimes felt more home than home. Well, that's us.
We're the Wilsons, and we welcome you into our podcast with silly chat, ridiculous games, and interviews with interesting people.
Like a spin doctor. The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast.
Welcome home.
Theaters to streaming seems too short, so that can only mean one thing. It's time for the movie Wirecast.
A group of friends' fishing boat capsizes off the coast of Mexico, and they're left alone, stranded at sea and struggling for survival. In Not Without Hope.
Let's go, baby.
Come on now, I get strong. You get strong. You get strong.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Done for some deep sea fishing? Crack of dawn Saturday?
Oh, let's go, baby.
What time are you heading back?
We'll be back by dusk.
We're gonna be all right. We're four big, strong men.
Well, you can't bench press the ocean.
Look at this haul. This weather is not good. We gotta wrap it up.
Nicholas, it's Mom. I know you went out fishing this morning. This big storm's supposed to hit. Love you, hon. Bye.
Get back to the boat. I get strong. You get strong. You get strong. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
This is now a rescue mission.
We have some men out on the open water.
4 men in the middle of a giant storm.
What's happening to him? Hypothermia.
Captain, is my boy still alive?
Let's turn this thing up. I'm gonna do everything in my power to bring him home safe and sound.
Right now, let's go.
No visual. Weather getting worse.
We are not done yet.
Hang on! I love you!
Hope is the strongest thing that we have.
I get strong! You get strong! We get strong!
Hope is lost. Hope is lost the minute our group of friends step on the boat. And that's not talking about the situation our guys are in. I'm talking about the movie. Now, Not Without Hope is based on a true story where in 2009, a fishing trip where 3 friends, NFL players Marquise Cooper and Corey Smith and former teammate Will Bleakley, tragically died after the boat capsizes in the Gulf of Mexico, with only Nick Schuyler surviving after being stranded for over 40 hours. Here we have a good cast. Zachary Levi plays Nick, Quentin Blair as Marquise, Terrence Terrell as Corey, and Marshall Cook as Will, with Josh Dummel as Captain Timothy Close, who is in charge of finding the lost group in a Coast Guard mission. And I'll get into Dummel here in just a second, just you wait. But I need to ease into the rest of my disdain for the execution of Not Without Hope. First, let's just address the main core of the problem here, which is not just bad writing, but writing that just seeing copied and pasted out of any other survival film. But not just copy and pasted, but dumbed down to the point even our cast has trouble delivering the lines, with each line fighting itself to be memorable, or each time, for example, our Captain Close, again played by Dummel, speaks with intent to build higher stakes or deliver something motivational. There is nothing in between. It's almost like our writers E. Nicholas Mariani and Joe Carnahan didn't read Nick Schuyler's book. in which this was based on, or even go the extra mile to get to know these characters from proper research. But instead, what we get is a feeling of watching a movie within a movie, where everything is delivered over dramatized. It's almost comical. We have character lines that have nothing to build upon. It's rapid fire of motivational, stake-driven lines to build a higher danger that our boys won't survive. Even with Dummel in his performance, I almost couldn't stomach it. And I don't want to pull all the blame on his performance, because holistically the script sucks. And he really doesn't have anything to work with. To show how much the dialogue sucks here, especially with our Captain Close character, we get an early scene where he first gets assigned to find our missing group. And there's a monologue where he is explaining to his crew what hypothermia is and what it does to the body. Now, I was never in the Coast Guard, but wouldn't one think if you're in the Coast Guard and part of the job is seeking out lost people at sea, at bare minimum, one serving for the Coast Guard would know what hypothermia is and what it does to the body. I thought to myself, man, these 4 guys are in trouble, not because of the situation, but who's in charge of finding him? But I get it. I do. I get it. It's cinema. It's filmmaking. It's meant for entertainment value, and we can see that's what it's going for. The writers think the audience isn't smart enough to know water and rain make somebody cold, and bad things can happen. This is a type of movie that frustrates me because it insults the viewer. It insults the audience on understanding the stakes and not going further on substance. The only thing missing from this scene is Dummel looking directly at the camera with the... Then after that, every fucking line he delivers is just merely cliche lines. For example, we will find them, my God, we won't give up, etc., etc. That's the main gist of the substance these characters add to the story and stakes. My second biggest problem with the film is the editing. And here, I get the challenge of filming and editing scenes with consistently changing water. But the environment, even the water, is never consistent. It always feels like we can tell when our director, Joe Carnahan, yells cut and resumes at a later hour or later day, along with some water being sprayed in the background that we can tell is artificial. This only becomes noticeable because I was trying to find some immersion into the story, some immersion into what I'm seeing on screen. And all these little things start to add up to what are we really doing here with this story? Our 2007 A-Team director, we can see his challenges he is facing in pulling this movie together to make all the elements work. And movies like this, I can understand, are difficult. But at the end of the day, the dialogue doesn't work and the editing by Kevin Hale doesn't work either. These are elements that take us out of the immersion of the stakes and situations, where by the time the credits rolled, I felt I knew nothing about our characters, just a few guys that suffered tragedy at sea. Now, with that said, the movie, when it isn't moving or the camera isn't bouncing from underwater to surface, has some good moments. When the camera pulls out, we can see the magnitude of the environment or the lightning light up the sky in the background. These are the moments that really are mesmerizing, that make us feel the magnitude of the situation or the conflict. The movie is at its best when it slows down, where we can enjoy the mere on-screen spectacle of what it is, and we can appreciate the situation that our boys are facing, and what gives an audience thrills. And what gives an audience thrills is not just taking us into internal fear of seclusion, but an environment of nature that we can visually see how dangerous it really can be. Joe Carnahan does have some great shots here, from the camera zooming up to the vast universe of stars to a wide shot of the vast ocean. A contrasting look into how big the world is that overshadows how little we are, in this case, how little the group of 4 are, that even a fleet of Coast Guard can't spot in a search. The direction by Carnahan at times and select shots tells a bigger story to not just a high-stakes conflict, but messaging of a bigger picture. Carnahan attempts to give meaning versus meaning from our script. Not Without Hope, at bare minimum, should keep us engulfed into the environment to make us feel unease, and at times, it does. But then comes sloppy editing to take us out of it, along with the script that's almost unbearably simplistic that ensures that it speaks to the viewer like we're infants. And by the time the credits rolled, I didn't feel good, I didn't feel motivated, I didn't feel bad, and I don't think I thought of this movie again by the time it was dinner time. It's a missed opportunity to really show something more meaningful and with substance from characters that we never get. And we leave the theater with just nothingness. I'm giving Not Without Hope 1.5 stars. After a catastrophic military disaster, the dead don't just rise, they hunt. As Ava searches for her missing husband, what she finds is far more terrifying. In Zak Hilditch's We Bury the Dead.
Tragic images emerged following the deployment of an experimental weapon.
Next, please. I'd like to join the body retrieval unit. Who was down there?
Just a little farther.
My husband.
I want to make a difference.
There should be a way to get to the highway without them spawning us.
I know what you're going through, but if you find your husband, I hope you understand what that could mean.
The odd ones that do come back online are docile. You have nothing to fear.
You want to know why only some of them come back? They're the ones with unfinished business.
Is it true what they're saying?
And they're getting more hostile by the day.
Just a little farther. Just a little farther.
Just a little further.
Zak Hilditch's new movie, We Bury the Dead, follows the same beat of an underrated film of his from 2019, which is called Rattlesnake. Even though that wasn't a perfect movie, he takes an overlaying stake of fear and attempts to translate that through horror scenarios. We Bury the Dead is a little bit more successful at the messaging than Rattlesnake was, but Rattlesnake was better with utilizing the stakes and tension. Zak Hilditch, we can tell, wanted to tell a story of moving on, redemption, and closure when it comes to trauma both in the present and in the past, with tempting the audience with what would seem to be yet another zombie movie. But it's far from that. It shows lingering unfinished business of what happens when one leaves this world, not only grappling with closure from the living, but also grappling with closure at times with the dead. Our writer-director Zak Hilditch gives us a look at both sides with the importance of closure and embracing life, and not taking life for granted. Because life can end with just, with a burst of a sonic signal through the head to end us at any moment, that Zak Hilditch presents to us as a metaphor with the dead as a symbol of the result of actions of our life. Daisy Ridley plays Ava, a wife in search for her husband, that went on a business trip when the event happened. And to find her husband, she becomes part of a recovery team whose sole job is to recover the dead bodies that are left over from the incident. But her group is warned that some of the dead may wake up, and that's when the military takes care of it with decency, aka shoot them in the head. Ava volunteers because this group will eventually make it to where her husband was staying. This is where Ava meets Clay, a renegade, cowboy, tough guy, or whatever you want to call it, who doesn't wear a mask or gloves when he is recovering the dead bodies. Gross. Ava convinces Clay to go on a 900-mile road trip to go find her husband, where these two face dangers from environment to the dead to another added threat. Now, here lies the problem, is that there are so many little things going on, it takes a while for us to dive into Hilditch's point he's trying to make. And that also goes into a little bit of an identity crisis. Where is it a journey of thrills and mystery, or is the movie trying to tell us something deeper? It's not that the film is overly complicated to have an identity crisis, but Hilditch's writing doesn't seem balanced enough to really get us to know our characters until we get maybe to the last half hour of the movie, where it banks on summing it all up during the climax. When it comes to the messaging, when, given the topics and situations that our writer-director presents, we could have at least gotten more from our Ava character when it comes to what she's dealing with. And without giving anything away, the climax leads to an exclamation mark on Hilditch's message on life, and we get some flashbacks of a couple times throughout the movie to help support the messaging as we get to the climax. But the reveal at the end just shows us we needed more from our build to really land what Hilditch is throwing down when it comes to the messaging. But what I do love about what Hilditch does is not just giving us zombies that run at super speed or sole intent is to kill. As an audience member, as a viewer, I was waiting for all hell to break loose as a survival travel movie. But I was taken back. I found a curiosity surrounding our zombies, especially a scene that to me was one of the most emotional ones. It involves a body that wakes up alongside his family outside of an RV that you can tell the family was on vacation when the events happened. That again, I will leave that to the viewer to see, but it's an absolute emotional moment. It changes our perspective with zombies in film, that humans can be just as scary as dead humans that come to life, and dead humans can still show empathy, love, and the want to resolve. And that is the sole driver in life, is how we love. And when we love so much, it leads to unfinished business. Even if that means not saying a proper goodbye, can lead to unfinished business. Can a zombie movie be sweet and thrilling at the same time? We Bury the Dead proves it can be. But Hilditch's idea is bigger than what he can balance properly. We have the curious world where disaster hits, and we don't get a proper balance to know more about what happened versus messaging versus a monster movie. For an hour-and-a-half movie, we really did need to either place bigger dialogue breadcrumbs to want to follow our main character Ava, or make it longer to really give us more flashbacks to tell us a little bit more about these characters to make the stakes a little greater, or the mystery even greater. Because what Hilditch does is just make Ava roam from house to zombie until she meets her destination. It feels repetitive, where the movie does feel like it just drags on. But when Hilditch has a good scene, he knows he has a good scene, because that's where we can see his direction at best. From a bachelor party garage full of dead bodies to reminding us of the danger of the world by showing us the sky burning buildings, to contrasting a sunny suburb neighborhood with gray decaying bodies. The color contrast and the environments are done extremely well. And he does this without overshadowing the characters. But the sad thing is that it would be very easy to overshadow the characters because they just feel linear, with their motives being bigger than their performances. We Bury the Dead, it's a big idea, it's a refreshing idea, and the message it delivers and the ugliness of a zombie movie and the event is unique. It is quite a beautifully simplistic movie about life and how we decide to live it. And you know, I have been back and forth with this movie, but the positives outweigh the negatives. So I'm gonna give We Bury the Dead a marginal recommendation at 3 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film, and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.